The beginning of French-Canadian migration started as it did with most European countries. After the discovery of the New World, most European countries had a deep interest in controlling the newly discovered land. Most would send explorers or missionaries to make discoveries in North America and claim them in whoever's name that employed them. This was merely a first step. Next came the colonization of the lands. The people in Europe were curious of the rumors of the New World and its riches and untouched lands. But some were simply interested in a new start. Whether they wanted to find glory and riches, settle a new plot of land, or settle a debt, a large population of people would gradually make their way to the New World. The Edict of Nantes was put into place in 1598 by Henry IV, granting tolerance to Protestants and thus ending the French Wars of Religion. Some French were pressured to go to the New World to escape persecution after the edict was lifted by Louis XIV in 1685. His official decree was to kill the greatest part of the Protestants that can be overtaken, without sparing the women, to the end that this may intimidate them and prevent others from falling into a similar fault. Due to the Edict of Nantes, Protestants would either have been insane, incredibly inadequate in some way, or of low social status to remain in France under such an edict. Any Protestant with money, skills, or education would be on their way to the New World to escape persecution and save their families, though it was not that easy. The French rule anticipated mass emigration, and so Protestants were not permitted to travel. Most would lie about their beliefs or obtain a forged passport to the New World. My family has always been Catholic, however, so they did not come over to flee persecution, but to create a new life for themselves. According to the scant documentation available, my ancestor, Pierre Thibodeau, most likely had his passport paid for by a man named Leborgne. We do know that he was indentured to Leborgne to pay off his debt. The two men came to North America in the year 1654 and landed near present-day Nova Scotia. Indentured servitude connected to immigration was fairly common in that time period. Of immigrants, about 96,600 between the years 1600 and 1699 were indentured servants. Of these, a few thousand were most likely to be French. Fast forward to the seventh generation from Pierre. That is when my ancestor, Marie, made her way to America in the general vicinity of what is now Bruno, Maine. After much searching, I am sad to not have any documentation of their arrival, but it was not uncommon for emigration to happen this way within the French-Canadian community. There were a few routes that were most commonly taken, one of them being in the New England area. It is from here my lineage becomes more familiar to me. Marie had married a Joseph Dubé and had a son, David Dion, who would later marry Salomé Fonjumi. They would have a son, Patrick Dion. He would later marry Agnes Marquis and have a family, one of their daughters being my great-grandmother, Muriel. It is difficult to say, due to lack of sources both primary and secondary, how common my own family's pattern of migration actually was, from France to Canada and from Canada to New England. Many more French Canadians emigrated to the United States after the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century. From my research, I have learned one thing. My family always seems to have been 200 years ahead of the curve.